Okay, so let's first of all look at question 16.6. So here it is, and what we have in question 16.6 is a man who's fishing from a pier, and he observes that 4 wave crests pass by in 7 seconds. It estimates the distance between 2 successive crests to be that. The timing starts with the first crest, ends with the fourth. What is the speed of the wave? Well, when I think about the speed of a wave, what I sort of think about is I know that in one period of the wave, that wave will travel by 1 wavelength. So the speed of the wave, because speed is just going to be distance over time, we know then that the speed of the wave is equal to its wavelength divided by its period. And so it would be really handy if, from this information that they've given us, we could figure out what the wavelength and the period was. So what this guy is doing is he's standing on a pier. So here he is, and this is my rendition of him. And he's just watching these wave crests go past. So if this is the wave he's looking at, we might have a wave looking something like this, going past him. Something like that. And then what he does is if this is when he starts watching the wave, he's going to focus on the wave crests that are going past. So he's just going to look there and count how many of these wave paths go past. And he's going to wait until 4 of these wave crests go past. So if this is when he starts observing up there, and this is when he finishes observing. So let's label this wave crest as 1. Then when he finishes observing, what the wave is going to be looking like is something more like this. Because now this wave crest will have moved up, but he's counted 1, 2, 3, 4. So after 4 wave crests go past, that means that wave crest, what I've called 1 there, is going to be all the way up here. And we're going to have some other wave crests back here, all the way back to number 4. And he reckons it takes 7 seconds between these 2 pictures. He also estimates that the distance between successive wave crests is 4 meters. So the distance between wave crests is exactly what we mean by the wavelength of a wave. So this distance here is going to be 1 wavelength, as is this one, as is this one. And so this is at initial time, so this picture is at initial time. And this picture down here is, and 7 seconds later. So clearly we have had the situation where 3 wavelengths of this wave have gone past this guy. So in those 7 seconds, this wave has travelled a distance of 3 wavelengths. So that means we know that this 7 seconds then has to be equal to 3 periods of the wave. So we have then that, yes, the wavelength is 4 meters, but we also know that 3 periods, so 3 times the period, has got to be equal to 7 seconds. And so from this equation here, we can quite easily solve for the period. And since we know what the wavelength is, we can just plug these 2 numbers into here and get an answer. Something else we can do is say, well, if we don't necessarily want to go to the trouble of solving all this, what we can do is just multiply the numerator and the denominator of this equation by 3. And multiply and divide, in that case, it amounts to doing just nothing really. So we can also write this equation as V is equal to 3 times the wavelength divided by 3 times the period. 3 times the period is going to be 12, and we know that 3 times the wavelength is 12, and we know that 3 times the period is 7 seconds. So the speed then is going to be 12 divided by 7 is 1.71 meters per second.